Does it make sense? Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you Accedo for hosting us. I have a really lovely fireside chat panel here, big fire. Oliver Tabruj is from WaterBear Network. He's seen the channel business develop from every single angle, from A&E, Comcast, AMC, BBC as well, right? And now WaterBear Network. So he's kind of got two hats on. He's off the fence during the day and WaterBear during the night. I'm not sure which way it's around. Thank you for joining us, Oliver. We also have Umar, who's come all the way from Dubai. Umar is the MD and founder of Myco. He's a marketer, an innovator, and a disruptor. Umar has got a background in various industries, from the television, automotive, financial industries, which is the right viewpoint to really disrupt all of those. He's most recently served with Gargesh Group as head of marketing, and he created Myco, which is a very unusual, unique way, a decentralized platform where you can watch content and also earn tokens by doing that. Thank you, Umar. Teresa has joined us from rlaxx TV, again, another person with two hats. Teresa leads partnerships for Foxum and also providing CTV solutions, and also fast TV service, rlaxx TV. And then Hale, thank you very much for coming. Hale is from BBC Studios, a true pioneer in her field, one of the first people that started launching fast channels with Inside TV. Hale has got a really great track record. She's been at Nickelodeon, Fox, and now rightfully heading up Director of Programming for Western Europe at BBC. And a colleague of mine told you she's very passionate about the BBC, so I'm sure you guys know that too. And Marcus, again, thank you for hosting us. Marcus has a background in music videos, VFX production, programming, and knows everything about content and knows that that's sort of king, and it's important how to deliver it rightly to the right people. Can you guys actually hear me? Yeah. So just a quick show of hands. Who works in niche channels that are here? Who works with fast channels? Cool. And who's here for the drinks? Okay. Well, Nicoletta's here, help yourself as well. So we wanted to dive in. Maybe Marcus, with yourself starting off, just kind of give us an overview of your service, what are the dynamics of the service, and the business models and the proposition.
Thank you. So in brief and in short, what Accedo does, we have two parts of our offering. So we do pro services where we build applications for big media and telco operators around the world. And then we have a products offering where we cater towards niche services that want to go OTT. And those are the two types of offerings that we have. We're a global company, so we have 600 employees across 15 different offices. So we're all over the place when it comes to what we do. And we realized, similar to what you guys realized a couple of years ago, that niche services are the future of how we're going to go to market. So we actually purposely built the product to be able to cater for that type of audience.
Hi, so like Anita said, I mainly represent rlaxx TV, which is an AVOD fast service. We were acquired a month ago by Season, which is a company from Singapore that owns an OS that's called WellOS. That's an OS for smart TVs. We have an install base of 85 million devices, which is a huge thing in order to make also fast very attractive. So we're obviously going to use our own OS to give our own rlaxx TV a good, head start and jump and to reach the audiences. But rlaxx TV is basically available on all types of platforms you can think of, and we have a catalog of around 150 channels in all types of languages. The main markets we are in is UK and Germany, and also Brazil, Mexico starting to see good traction. So if you have some niche channels out there that you look in distribution, let's connect after this panel. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Oliver. I work for the WaterBear Network. The WaterBear Network is the first interactive media platform that's dedicated to the future of our planet. And WaterBear has two products. One is an application that's been compared to the Netflix for nature. which is obviously a really nice thing to be compared to. But when actually our community members come into the product itself, they notice that there's actually a little bit more to our product than just video. We also work with 150 NGOs. And in our mobile products, when you go in there, there's text, there's videos, and really what we're trying to encourage is, on the one side, education, inspiration, information, using video. But when that moment comes when you're watching something and you're deeply engaged and wanting to help somebody, we also build a gap between video and actually being able to take an action or support a cause. And then we also have a fast channel, which is obviously why I'm here, the WaterBear Network, which is more of a lean back experience where we use our WaterBear original content and documentaries and build out a fast experience, because we believe that watching content and being informed and educated as an individual will also help you make better decisions for the future of our planet.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Hale, and I'm the Director of Programming for BBC Studios in West Europe. I'm more in Scandinavia and Benelux in terms of channels. We have a linear channel and an SVOD service in the Nordics called BBC Nordic and Nordic Plus. And we have a linear channel here in Benelux called BBC First. Thank you.
Hi. So, as you said, my name is Umair, and I'm coming from Dubai. Long flight. So we create like a platform which is an AVOD streamer. How we're different is that this is actually a watch and earn platform, and the underlying philosophy is that we believe that the industry has an imbalance where now the next stage of monetization needs to be shared with the viewers. And obviously all of us have seen the fact that the industry has been circular. It all started with advertising, and then it went on to subscriptions, and now AVODs are the next big thing. We're also talking about FAST, but we still believe that now the next step here is to involve the user within the monetization journey as well as the content creation journey, right? Because it solves two gaps. One is when the viewer gets more power, they get more earnings, which means that the audience becomes more captive from the perspective of an advertiser. But at the same time, the users are also now part of the production process, which means that young independent filmmakers and creators get more opportunities because now the users can directly fund them. So that's what we're doing now. Today, as things stand, we're at 2.5 million users, largely MENA and Southeast Asia is our market. We've done a lot of sports streaming, which has been our growth in the recent past. And we've got more than 50 originals, again, that we funded through the community model that we're talking about. And we have almost all categories of content on our platform. You should download the app as well. It's a lot of fun. You've got creators, you've got live sports, you've got unscripted documentary films as well. So yeah, that's who we are.
Cool. Thank you very much, everybody. I think we were promised everything that you need to know about niche channels. About niche channels. So I think one of the main points is monetization and how do you make money from the content and from your various business models. What is the effect that you have about differentialization of your monetization, basically? So I know you looking at tokens, you looking at working with NGOs. What effect has that had? Especially Hala, you guys come from sort of BBC First is one of the biggest channels outside of the UK.
Well, that's
from
right.
BBC.
We are actually the most successful international channel in the Dutch market, and we are very much loved by the Dutch audience. But we are a traditional linear channel. Of course, we have our partners, and that's how we actually are in the market. BBC Studios is a commercial subsidiary of BBC Public Service, so we are a commercial entity. So the business model is very simple.
But you've diversified quite a lot now with going IP-specific channels in the fast space, right?
That's right. So we actually go into markets, certain proposals. Recently, actually, the best example would be from Scandinavia. We launched BBC Nordic and Nordic Plus. Previously, there were two separate and different proposals in the market. but there was a demand from the market to update and revamp. So we created this very new brand and introduced new genres to appeal to the audience's demands. We listened to them, do very good research, and also we introduced a plus service, which is linked to our linear proposal. So audience can find us either on the linear or on the digital space. So.
Yeah. And I think, Oliver, you guys have something similar, right? So you launched OTT first with WaterBear, but now you're also going into the fast space.
That's correct. So we have a slightly different approach to some of the products that are out there in the market, because WaterBear, the application itself, is actually available for free. Because our company is being created to help the future of our planet, we just felt it was not appropriate to put it behind a paywall. On the fast side, that is where we take our content, we make it into a linear channel, and where we do make revenue from advertisements, obviously. But they're two very different experiences. So one is an FR platform that's been created to engage, educate, inform. And our fast channel obviously has all of that great content, but it's more of a lean-back linear experience. So those are the two models that we have at the moment.
Umar, I think you guys also do a very unique way of monetizing your content. Can you explain that a little bit better? I know you started a bit, but...
Sure. So again, the mindset that we are coming from, we believe that monetization is now a community process, right? And that's why we've created a very strong community. We believe largely our monetization is coming from advertising, as you understand, because we're an AVOD platform, hopefully now also getting into the fast regime. But we believe that the value of an eyeball can actually be greater for an advertiser if the audience is captive. How is the audience going to be captive is if they're part of the community, right? And how can they be part of the community? If they have a sustainable share within the ecosystem of content, and if they're involved in the process of content creation, right? So yeah, that's how we're different, and we look at monetization in a completely different way. We, as an AVOD platform, we also have third-party content, which means that if you're a creator or an influencer, you can, in addition to YouTube and TikTok, you can also have a channel on Myco, right? But how we're different is that other than, unlike someone like YouTube who's going to give you 50% of the revenue that gets generated on your content, we are actually going to give you 65%. We don't have any minimum benchmark, so you don't need to have a minimum number of watch hours or subscribers. You start monetizing from the very first few. And the remaining 35% is actually being distributed to your community of viewers, right? So as a platform, when we're solely used as a platform where the content does not belong to us, Myco does not make any money, right? And that's the concept of a decentralized streaming ecosystem that we're working on. So yes, monetization, we believe that at scale is where we're really going to monetize ourselves, right?
Thank you very much. I think the flip side of the coin is the costs and keeping the costs low. And I think we've got Teresa with yourself and your service that you're building on the OS. And maybe actually, Marcus, if you can start first with the cost service that you have, or the service that you give that's very low cost.
Yes, certainly. And I do think that what we've seen over the last couple of years with the gazillion fast channels that have been launched, I think that it's not sustainable for the first. I mean, there is going to be a few winners that come out of the fast business for sure, but all of the channels that we have now, it's ridiculous. No one is going to be able to consume all of that content that is out there. And I think that what we're going to see and what we need to see is better data related to be able to make money on this. But from a cost perspective, there are certainly a lot of SaaS platforms out there that you can leverage to be able to do this fast. They need to become better and they need to become cheaper than what they currently are. But certainly you can launch a fast service today and you can monetize it, but you need to find the audience, and most of the fast channels today don't. Yeah.
Hello, sorry, Teresa, how do you guys work with that in terms of the costing? You kind of partner with yourselves in a way with the OS and then the channel.
Well, so here my friend just really mentioned all the challenges we're facing. So thanks for that intro. But because we know that how we started rlaxx TV, I mean, we're still a very new service. We've been there just 2 years. Like I say, we just got acquired, so now we're gonna work on the growth of the platform. But how we started with it is, how do we make content partners, our platform attractive to come on board? And what we did is, okay, we're just gonna cover all the CDN costs on our end. We're just gonna invite them to join the platform, give us all the content to us. We're gonna just take the headache away from them. We're gonna be the ones setting up the channel, doing the EPG scheduling for them, and selling the advertisement for them. Then of course, in theory, that sounds like a very attractive model, but even us, to be honest, we now have 150 channels. It's like, okay, this is not just maintainable this way, because then the cost is actually only on our end. So now as we grow, we're also starting to study all types of different cooperations. Of course, just onboarding already done HLS fast channel, which again, as to his point earlier, that means the content partner needs to bear the cost of that CDN on their own, setting out, the ad cost insertion. So yeah, it's definitely still a thing that I think we need to figure out as an industry and how to cope with that. But it's still, what we try to contribute to that is that, okay, if you're not sure about it yet, then just trust us, give us the content, we create your channel, and at least we start with distribution on our platform.
Cool. Thank you. Haile, I also wanted to ask you about localization costs, right? That's one of the big things, and that you said is quite an issue for you on the channel side. Is that how are you guys working with your local partners? Is it expected?
Well, that was actually my experience from my previous company. I know that fast channels especially would like to, certain companies want the fast channels that they're hosting to be in the language of the country that they are broadcasting. But, it can be challenging for companies to achieve that. For BBC Studios, we recently launched on 15th of August, actually, a Top Gear channel in the Nordics. And then we do have language. But, it's not always for every company to be able to do that. So on the digital space, there is certain issues that we see in general.
I think maybe data being one of those issues as well. I know that was a hot topic.
Exactly.
I don't know who wants to jump in with the data side of things in terms of being able to monetize and the role that data and the first-person relationship that you have with your audience all going through networks, right? I don't know who'd like to feels most passionate about data.
So again, why I believe that Web3 is the future of streaming and content industry as a whole is coming back to the point about the community, right? Because if you're creating a community that has a stake within the overall ecosystem, then users are actually willing to share their data, right? Because they're part of the economy. And then the monetization of data makes a lot more sense, right? And even in terms of because you were talking about cost as well earlier, so even in terms of the cost of video infrastructure and CDN, we know with the rise of fast channels, data cost is now becoming, a major problem for a lot of the streaming platforms, and the fact that the platforms are actually bearing the cost on behalf of the users, right? Which can be solved through the blockchain, because the blockchain can actually solve both the problems. One is data, marketing of the data in a way that it is actually acceptable to the user, and secondly, the distribution of the cost within the stakeholders, because again, something interesting for some of you would be that the blockchain has the capability to bring down the cost of video streaming infrastructure by 90%. It can bring it down by 90%, right? And we have tested that on a few of our streams, a few of our live streams. Yes, it's not at the scale at this point in time. If we have 1 million MAUs, we still can't move all of that content onto the blockchain. But that is the future, whereby, the cost of video streaming infrastructure as a whole will come down. There's going to be better policies with regards to data, and as I said, everything is a part of community, right?
I think, Oliver, that must be interesting for you as well, right? With blockchain, being a company that's all about environment and
when it comes to technology, and obviously being WaterBear, which is part of a B Corp company, we do think very hard in regards to, how are we making our product actually accessible and available to our community? So, for example, do you autoplay promos? do autoplay promos with sound. Because obviously, well, what effect does that have on data usage? On energy usage in regards to carbon footprint? At what bit rate do you actually stream at? Does it really need to be this high? Again, because we're trying to keep obviously our energy consumption as low as possible. Obviously, the fact that blockchain, I'm not the expert in regards to that. So but if there are savings there, or from an energy perspective or efficiency, obviously that's something that we'd look at. But at the moment, at least we're being a little bit more traditional.
Thank you. And we have our mic, so hopefully you guys
Audio's
can hear
back.
a bit now. If you didn't hear, there have been some really interesting points so far. Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think if you're looking at sort of monetizing and looking at localization and distribution, I think, Halle, for you guys especially, what's the role between sort of international markets and especially in Europe, it's very fragmented. You talked about localization. America has a lot of the monetization, even though consumption, I think, is getting similar in fast. How do you guys deal with that, with local and...
Well, localization is, of course, the language localization, but also being an international company, a global company, and acting local, reaching your audience is very important. In 2020, actually BBC Studios first time opened an office in Amsterdam and set up the office, started a whole team in the Netherlands to be close to the local market, because that's actually the key to success. Be global, having this international content, but acting local, also with the local partners. So that's, I think, has given us a fantastic result. We have seen last year 16% increase in our shares, and basically the most successful international channel in the market.
Cool thing. I know, Accedo, I was quite surprised how many offices you have, and how you work locally with all those partners. And I know the one side is getting to your viewers, but the other one is also getting to your B2B partners and being local. How do you guys manage that?
I want to say, second what Halle just said as well, related to rolling out something globally, because what we see with a lot of our customers when they start to roll out and they want to roll out in different markets, it's a whole new undertaking, right? It's like starting a new company when you start to roll out to a new market, and you should not, and most companies don't, but you shouldn't underestimate the amount of effort that goes into actually reaching the audience on the platforms that they want to be in a convenient way. And another thing related to data that we just talked about before as well is what we need as an industry is better data. And that's a really, really tough and difficult point to get to be able to have that. And when it comes to the partnership point that you just asked about, so obviously we are a B2B company, so we don't go direct to consumers, but all our customers go directly to consumers. So we need to help our customers to mitigate all of these problems. So how do we actually find the good marketing tools for them to be able to reach their audience and so forth? And how do we do that in a cost-effective manner? And how do we do that so they can actually manage that with a team that is not 200 people? I mean, and that's the case for any niche service, right? So you need to be able to manage whatever you do in a cost-effective and a good manner.
I think, Teresa, that's also a big part of your new company structure with Foxum, but also your new owners. How do you guys deal with that in terms of working locally and globally?
So yeah, there's just a few topics, of course, the localization, but also the data point. So maybe briefly to both things. And what Halle said, of course, if you have the means to open an office and get close to that local audience, go for it. But who does have that opportunity? Unless you are BBC Studios or I don't know, you have to be a big conglomerate in order to be able to do that. The beauty of streaming and fast is that it still allows you to get to a big number of countries and platforms from specific locations without having to be just in every country. Of course, if I could, I would do it, and I would open an office in every country. I think long term, it's just about differentiating your platform. What is your audience? What do you want to do with it? And probably, naturally, maybe in 5 years, we noticed, okay, it's better if you just focus in Germany, UK, and I don't know, Spain, and in this sort of content, instead of just trying to reach the world, or maybe not. We will see.
I think it's an interesting topic because these are niche channels, right? And they're global niches. So you are by nature small and trying to get into multiple territories. How do you guys deal with it?
I mean, I guess the way we deal with it is step by step. From an investment perspective, obviously, it doesn't make sense to try and be everywhere and anywhere with Fast. But we've launched and we have some great partnerships already with companies such as Samsung, where we get data, we can take a look at what's performing and what isn't, and we see what's working on Fast. Obviously, on our own platform, we have access to data, and there we can actually take a much more focused approach from a territory perspective, let's say. But yeah, it's step by step. And just head down and focus and have some focused territories that you start off with first and then expand from there.
That's really interesting. Anybody else still about the local and international, especially around data? Otherwise, I'd like to move forward to there's a buzzword, bundling, super bundling. It's not quite as relevant necessarily to fast channels, but partnerships are, So how do you guys work with partners obviously it's very different from a service provider and from a direct-to-consumer and a platform side of things, but what do you see, what sort of partnerships will be really important for you going forward? Maybe Hala is starting.
I mean, I still have to go back to the latest example that we have created, BBC Nordic and Nordic Plus. It's an excellent example for bundling. It's recognizing the needs of the market, which is a very digital-oriented place. So you do need to serve to that audience. But we also have the fast channel, which we do cross-promote to each other. So we actually, they're not maybe in that same package deal, but they do complement each other. So you are then existing and serving to your audience on multiple different mediums. So bundling is very important, and being there on multiple different media is very important. Yeah.
Umar, in terms of partnerships, what do you think will really move the dial for you guys?
Yeah, so for us, obviously on the AVOD licensing side, partnerships become really important. Especially in sports, you understand that some of the rights that we're acquiring, they're worth millions of dollars, right? And they're scanning across different territories, and not necessarily do we have monetization and sales team in every territory ourselves. So, for example, we recently locked the ICC rights for a region, which is the Cricket World Cup. We made that announcement yesterday only. So we've done that in partnership with two other platforms, two other AVOD streamers, because the cost was so high that, and even from a monetization standpoint, we didn't have the expertise to monetize every market. So I feel a lot of our growth is going to come from such partnerships. And also, the question that you asked about localization. So we've learned with experience that as much as we want to be the next disruption within the streaming landscape because of our new economics, we can't be everywhere ourselves, right? And if we try to do that, our cost is just not going to justify the growth. So recently we've been exploring for the North American markets a franchisee model, whereby potentially we're going to onboard a franchisor who's going to obviously take majority of the revenues, but then also take majority of the cost, whether it's about localization, whether it's about getting regional rights, whether it's about doing the marketing and ad sales. So yeah, partnerships, I think, especially for a platform like us, partnerships is the way to go, So.
Cool, thank you very much. And Teresa, for yourselves, in terms of partnerships?
I see it also very similar to my friends here in this panel. I think it is important to leverage your partners to make sure that everyone is just doing what they best can. For example, if just to mention a few examples, what we try to do is when we partner with a content partner distributor is also to check, for example, on the ad sales. Where are they coming from? Are they coming already from the broadcasting background? That means they've had a bunch of linear channels running on linear and they have a direct sales, ad sales team. should we then let them rather sell our inventory instead of just trying to be like, oh, we need to sell 100%? And then also we're starting to look at opportunities, especially in Europe, for de-bundle rlaxx channels and bring them also to pay TV operators. There's a huge demand right now from pay TV operators to distribute fast channels and not just see it as a very strict, like rlaxx channels do not just have to be within rlaxx TV, but let's just bring it to the outside world and then indirectly do even marketing for our own platform.
Cool, thank you. And how does Accedo manage sort of partnering with?
So I think from a service provider like we are, when it comes to supplying technology to all of you as our customers, I think that main important thing is that we don't become a roadblock. So we have integrations and technologies that are possible to enable business relationship with, be it YouTube or be it like the big operators. If you want to get your content on there, you want to have a business relationship. Being able to enable business for our customers, I think, is the key thing here.
That sounds fantastic. And I was also speaking to your colleague who looks after sustainability, and actually getting your partners on board and delivering that in a sustainable way seemed to also be an objective, which is a good segue to you.
That is a fantastic segue, thank you. When it comes to WaterBear, the WaterBear Network, partnerships for us are extremely important because we are a platform that's been built to help the future of our planet. And nobody can do that by themselves. So for us, partnerships are paramount. On the one side, to get the stories that we produce on the WaterBear Studio side out into the market, plus the documentaries that we have, so that people see them, engage with them. But on the other side too, on the fast channel side, we're very dependent on partnerships because we're focusing on our channel, on our B2C brand, on getting the communication out. And when it comes, for example, to advertising, we lean actually on the expertise of others, at least for now, because we feel they're better equipped to do that. And yeah, I mean, I think in the fast space, there's more partnerships that need to happen in regards to content, findability, in regards to product development, which is obviously what you guys are focusing on and doing well, obviously, as best as you can. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about partnerships with WaterBear, there's just so many different levels of it. I could speak about it for a very long time.
Thank you very much. I would also like to know a little bit sort of predictions about the future of fast, the future of niche channels, just the future of the technology that underpins that. Who would like to have a go first?
I mean, I guess I can start. At the moment, there's just so much revenue that's being generated in the fast ecosystem that I don't necessarily see going away. The lean back linear experience is something that's been around for a very long time, let's say. And it seems to be finding new audiences. I think inevitably as more money comes in, the content quality is going to be different, let's say. Not that the content quality is bad right now, but you might find as more originals, more first windows finding their place onto fast channels. And yeah, you know, as we said at the beginning, there's going to be some people that make it and some people that don't. That's just the dynamics of the market. But for now, especially also in Europe, it's going to continue growing and growing.
So what I wish for the fast industry, the fast channels to happen is that we find a way to effectively really reach those audiences. We've been talking here the whole time this hour that fast gives an incredible opportunity for niche content to even get seen and be distributed, but at the same time, the more channels, the more platforms, the harder it gets. Because in the end of the day, we are all targeting at ourselves at home when we just decide to turn on our TV or whatever platform. So I hope as an industry we make it to be more effective in delivering to the right audiences. And then obviously there has to be even more consolidation. Like we started already, we were just acquiring out of 2 OSs and 2 fast platforms, we just made one of each. So maybe we could just even partner more strategically with other companies that are at the same time trying to do the same as we are, and instead of fighting, not fighting, but targeting separately towards the same goal, just join forces and work together towards that goal.
Cool. Thank you very much.
I'm going to take the consumer perspective here. What I want is a fast channel that is perfectly curated for me with only British panel shows. That's what I want. Can you do that for me?
I'll do my best. I will do my best. Well, one thing is for sure, at least in EMEA, linear is not dying, it's staying very strong. And it just, the formula is being used by the fast channels, literally mimicking the linear, system. So linear is here, but we should be embracing the digital as well and the new technologies. And the content is very important. The premium, high quality content that will always actually lead the way. And knowing your audience. Know your audience, have your excellent content, embrace every possible outlet, and that's the future how we should be seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd love to hear your future prediction.
Yeah, so surely the future is an ad-supported business as far as the future of media is concerned for me. But I just want to take that a step further, that ad-supported but with more power going to the viewer. And the power needs to go to the viewer in multiple forms, right? One is obviously monetization, the other is gamification, more involvement from their side, more customization for them, right? And I think that's where the growth is going to come from, because we've gone beyond that time and age where the consumer is just going to be a passive audience in front of a screen or on a phone, right? And we need to, all of us as an industry need to ask ourselves that if advertising is the future of the industry, what is the advertiser paying for, right? And maybe I want to just ask one of the audience members here, what do you think the advertiser pays for? Eyeball. Who does the eyeball belong to? So unless and until there is more power to the owner of that eyeball, which today does not exist, we're not going to make it, right? And that's why I feel it's all about giving more and more power to the consumer, as my friend just said, right? So.
Cool. Thank you very much, everybody. So if there's anything that anybody would like to add to that discussion that you feel you haven't managed to bring across, now's your time. But yeah. Yes. Any questions from the crowd? Anything around niche channels or fast channels or monetization around those topics, or do you feel you've been perfectly informed? What is the smallest niche? That's a good question. Who would like to answer that?
I mean, the smallest niche that you can bring out is a single IP channel, right? Because a single IP, I mean, there's no much niche that you can get than the Baywatch channel or SpongeBob SquarePants channel. Because if you're into SpongeBob and you have a SpongeBob channel, I don't know how much niche you can get. So I think it has to be single IP.
Anybody else? Smallest niche? Umar?
So again, for me, the smallest niche is any community, right? So, for example, we're a community right here, right? And we are an audience for someone because we think alike. And a community can be anywhere from 2 people to 2 million people that believe in one direction, one idea, one thought, right? So as content creators, we need to identify those thoughts and create content around them, and we'll be successful. So.
Maybe following on from that, have any of you discovered like a tiny niche that's been surprisingly active or surprisingly good?
Yes, we have. So we have a channel from our friends from UK ID they have a channel which is all about ASMR, and which just have a cook. It's new K food, and you literally just watch how people eat in front of a camera and do noises about it, and it's working. It works. So I guess it's kind of relaxing as well to listen to these noises. So that personally to us was interesting to see that it works, and it works in a lot of countries. So.
Any other questions from anybody here? Cool. Well, thank you very much for all of you joining from near and far. Thank you very much for hosting us. It's been really great, despite some of the technical problems. And yeah, thank you everybody for coming and joining us.